General, let's talk about countries taking on their own autonomy. You are on African soil, not for the first time, but this would be a good moment to ask about one of the countries that has taken its own autonomy, and that's Burkina Faso. Your remarks recently at the Senate seem to suggest that he's diverting, that's General Traoré, is diverting its 4 billion gold reserves to sustain his military rule rather than for public welfare. These remarks sparked widespread condemnation across the continent. What did you mean by that statement?
Let me speak to Burkina Faso's sovereignty. They maintain their sovereignty. They make their decisions how they use their resources. They make their decisions who their resources go to for military support. That's their sovereign right. But my cautionary tale was just from a military perspective. That was a Senate Armed Services Committee asking me a direct question. Burkina Faso, a lot of great things going on to progress them forward, okay? But then when you look at the military part of it, knowing that that's the epicenter of global terrorism, it was my time to illuminate that this is probably their weakest point, and there needs to be sufficient resources going towards for the whole fight of terrorism in that country. Period. They make their decisions, though. That's their sovereignty, their sovereign right to make their decisions, what is appropriate, what's not. But I wanted to illuminate that it's going in the wrong direction now. ISIS is getting stronger. JNIM is getting stronger. Al-Qaeda in the lands of the Maghreb is getting stronger in that country.
And do you think it's getting stronger after General Traoré took over?
It has. Just look at the numbers of attacks. It really has, since 2022. I've been tracking this since I took command. So, no ill will towards him, but the decisions is their own. They're looking for other ways to be able to, they're still on warfighting footing. It's just going to take more resources.
So you stand by that statement? Because there's been pressure on you to walk those statements back.
That's my statement. That's my assessment. That is getting worse. More needs to be done for not just local, but whole of country, because of these violent extremist organizations are seeking revenue. They're seeking resources. They're seeking recruiting from the Burkinabe people. And they're seeking refuge within their country. That threatens their sovereignty.
Okay. And that threatens America's interest?
Say again?
Does that then threaten America's interests?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Because especially ISIS, and of course in East Africa is inextricably linked all the way to ISIS West Africa, ISIS Sahel, and there's going to be probably a move afoot for them to move and seek refuge within the line. So we have shared objectives, and we offer to work together with the Burkinabe government and border countries. Mali, Niger, coastal West Africa countries collective, because here's what these organizations do. Here's what these terrorist organizations do. They seek refuge in the seams or the borders of these countries and lets them thrive and grow and lets them recruit, gain resources. to carry on their illicit and nefarious activities against the populations of those people.
And what would America, perhaps Africom, be prepared to do? Would you be considering an ouster like we saw with Muammar Gaddafi in Libya? Because there's still many Africans who are yet to recover from that. If this is a bigger threat, as you say, in Burkina Faso, what is Africom prepared to do about it?
We do indications and warnings. There's a number of activities that we do, and we'll just go ahead and mention building institutional capacity. There's not going to be U.S. boots on the ground. Very, very small for exchange of ideas and training, exercises. Over time, that builds institutional capacity and capability in these armies. There, Africom, we are working towards a burden sharing and a burden shift for their independent operations. That's our goal. We have the shared objectives because these same terrorist groups can threaten our homeland. So we're in concert. I was just an African Lion over in Morocco. A number of countries working together to be able to
Is Burkina Faso invited here today for this conference?
Yes. Yes, they were invited to African Lion in Morocco. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Like I said, we're moving forward.
Okay.
We're moving forward because we have that shared goal of defeating terrorism.
All right. Speaking of that, because the reaction out of the statements that you made about Burkina Faso were several African leaders feeling you are speaking on sovereignty issues that America shouldn't be, and as a result there are those who see the role of Africa as less of a partner in the war against shared threats, as you mentioned, and more of a protector of Western or American economic interests that allows access to Africa's vast mineral resources, and as more of a paternalistic relationship than one of respect amongst peers. What would you respond to that?
I respond that there's others on the globe that do that. There's others on the globe that do that. I'm going to even bring it up. We should have even already know, okay? But I'm going to even bring that up.
Okay.
We respect the sovereignty. We respect their decisions. We respect their decisions of who they choose as a security partner. And then we measure the common denominator that's keeping these countries across the Sahel from progressing forward.
Let's begin by understanding why you're here. There is the Chiefs of Defense Forces conference. Tell us about that and what role Africom is playing.
Well, for U.S. Africom, we yearly put on the Chief of Defense Conference. When I first took command back in 2022, we had a conference in Rome. And I said, you know what? That's fine and good. Everyone wants to go to Rome, but I saw that this conference is for the African Chiefs of Defense. It should be on the continent. And we went to have our own last year in Botswana. And it really opened things up to address issues, military issues, security issues, shared objectives of how to achieve security and stability across the continent. So that was a purpose. And now we're here in Kenya. And as I had discussions with the Chad, General Langley, he says, yes, I would love to host this conference. So it's an ownership by the Chiefs of Defense across Africa. And here we are.
Tell us about the relationship between Africom and of course the various militaries around Africa. And we'll come to Kenya in a moment. Mm-hmm. But speak to us about the cooperation and the support that's been provided. How would you categorize that?
Oh, wow, it's broad and wide as far as our engagement with the militaries across the continent, across the regions from North Africa to Southern Africa, East and West. We deepen our partnerships with various countries and their militaries to build towards what we see first as security comes first. For good governance, to institutionalize the militaries is the first step to be able to get stability and also prosperity for countries. That's where we engage with various countries across West Africa and East Africa and across the Maghreb as well, and then in Southern Africa. We've been building on these relationships for years, since 2007, 2008, engaging with various African countries that have shared objectives, shared values in our approach to the threats, but also to explore the opportunities.
There's also growing concern over the role Africom has played on the continent. While the US has often stated that its military presence is meant to support counterterrorism, people argue that training programs have had unintended consequences. For now, the African Chiefs of Defense Conference in Nairobi continues, but the diplomatic tremors caused by General Langley's comments may take much longer to calm. So now we ask you, was General Langley's statement a misunderstood military comment, or does it reveal deeper issues about foreign influence in Africa? Do you believe Africom's presence on the continent is helping or harming the long-term stability of nations like Burkina Faso? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.